All right, I'm gonna call this utility committee to order. If we would, stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And Kathy, roll call, please.
First, am I to assume that Mrs. Hampshire's now on the utility?
She has been.
Oh,
So it was Todd, Jude, and myself as
Okay.
members of the utility committee.
yes, I have her here. Okay.
Appreciate
No one is filling in?
We have not, it's something that we need to talk about in leadership and potentially keep our options open.
Okay. Walther,
Here?
Hampshire,
Here.
All right. Okay, looks like we got a full boat tonight. Chris, do you want to talk about, let's see here, unmetered sewer rates? That
Yes,
sounds
sir,
very
Mr.
exciting.
Walter. So, as you'll remember, we talked a little bit about this anomaly that we found in the billing system where the unmetered sewer-only customers of the Oaks have been paying a flat rate that did not get amended with any of the rate increases since 2009. So we're coming up with different options on how to remedy that. And I have more details, better numbers tonight, so that I figured that's what we would go over. That first sheet, the spreadsheet there shows, it's a breakdown of all the rate increases from 2009 until now, looking at sewer only. And then at the very bottom right-hand corner, you can see that each resident that is paying this flat rate saved essentially $5,223.96 if you take this math through the end of this year. This is through December of 2022. So that, I figured, would be very important information to show the public when we have our meeting to discuss with those 30 residents. Show them what they have saved that everybody else had to pay. So that's the difference in the rates there. The second page is the more critical one for tonight's discussion. These are the different options that we have for the customers to choose from. Now, we talked a little bit last time about going to allowing them to put in a meter in their well line, which is the preferred option, and letting them stay at the unadjusted flat rate until that meter was installed, because some of these meters are on back order, so they take a while. And then that meter, the plumbing adjustments would be done by the customer, and the meter and the radio read unit would be purchased by the customer. They would get everything ready. We would install the meter. When we install the meter, they would immediately go to the current rate that everybody else is paying. The other option that we had talked about was letting them stay on a flat rate and kind of phasing them into catching up with everybody else. Now, the first thing that we discussed, I think we were all on board with, was currently their flat rate is based on 7,000 gallons a month of usage, which seemed high, which is what you do for a flat rate so that you can make sure you're not missing out on their usage. But we looked at the other neighborhoods, everybody in our system, and a more accurate average is 5,000 gallons. So these two charts in the top right-hand corner of that page are based off of 5,000 gallons. And I looked at the difference between where they're at now and where they would need to be and broke that into two phased-in approaches. One is 3 years long. The other one, as you can see, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years long. So the one that's 3 years long would get this anomaly caught up to the same rate everybody else is paying, with the rate increases that are already approved and as a part of that ordinance. The 6-year window does not account for any rate increases that may happen in 27, 28. If we were to have that discussion, that table would have to be readjusted at that point if another rate increase was decided to be needed. But you can see that the two options, the 3-year window, the first increase would be a $3 increase, which would be the capital improvement fee. So per 1,000 gallons, they would have a $3 capital improvement fee like everybody else. Currently, they do not have any. It's not on their flat rate. Then the remaining balance to catch them up would be $4.88, which I just split in half for those following 2 years. A $2.44 increase 1 year, $2.44 in 2025, and then everybody would be caught up together. And then obviously the 6-year plan, I just split those numbers in half. So first 2 years would be $1.50 each going to the CIP fund, and then following that, 4 $1.22 increases if another increase isn't needed by the time that 2028 rolls around. If another increase came around, then that would have to be adjusted. But those are the basic numbers, and yes, sir.
Based on a flat rate of 5,000 gallons.
Yes, sir. Based on 5,000 gallons. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. So those are the numbers there. I think what I'm kind of looking for is to decide which of those two phased-in approaches we think is the better one. For convenience, in the billing department, the 3-year phased-in approach would be better, and obviously for convenience to the pocketbook of the customers, the 6-year approach would be the better of the two. So my preference would be the 3-year increase to catch them back up for where they've been since 2009. But as we said before, outside of some internal headaches and possibly adjusting the increase again in the future, these 30 customers are not breaking the budget, so we could make either one of these two plans work. But I think if we present, I think it would be better if we settled on an option to present to the public before they came in, as opposed to giving them a bunch of different options to choose from.
So, just because I'm a math person and love math, on the front page, I see you're using the 7,000 gallon per month rates rather than the 5,000 gallon per month rate.
Correct.
So, for their total savings at 7,000 gallons a month, it's $600 a year that they have a total savings of. I'm just using the last, right now, 2022 is
Yes,
$600
yes,
a year.
602, yes.
That's 7,000 gallons.
Yes, sir.
So when you reduce to 5,000 gallons at a flat rate, what is their savings per year? So let's just say that in 2023, we just said, all right, you're gonna go to 5,000 gallons, we didn't change anything
Didn't
else.
change anything else. I could easily find that out.
I mean, is
Reason
it per
7,000
ratio, is it a simple ratio?
Yeah, it'd be.
So it's 2 to 5, or it's
that's-
5 to 7
7s,
is
yeah.
6 to what? Yeah, whatever that number is.
Yeah, that's
So it's
all.
probably $400, 2/3.
Yeah, for the years moving forward. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah,
So about $400 is the savings. I'm just gonna go on that assumption, about 2/3, or 1/3
For-
savings.
for future years, yeah, so
Right,
to
so-
this point, 7,000 is accurate.
Understand?
Yeah.
So, hear me out. So at $400 a year, if we were to say 5,000, and you go to the next page and you continue to stay on the flat rate, and if you did it over 3 years or 2 years or whatever,
Mhm.
what you're doing is distributing that $400 a year savings that they had been, and you're slowly reducing that. So let's say you did that in 2 years. It'd be $200 less savings the first year, and then you're up to no savings. So
Correct.
minus 200, minus 400.
Correct.
So you're really looking at, by making the first change to 5,000 gallons a year, or $5,000 a month from 7,000, you've already reduced it substantially
Correct.
by a third, roughly. I'm just using, again, round numbers.
Right.
And if would you be opposed to going to a 2-year phase rather than a 3-year phase?
I would, the only reason that, it's to clean up the legislation, to make it easier, because one of these increases has to go to the 652 fund, and the rest has to go to the 651.
Okay.
So the 3-year gives me 652 all in the first year, and if we did a 2-year, maybe the second year would be 488 instead of 244.
I see what you're doing.
You know what I mean?
I see what you're doing. Yeah,
I feel like
you're gonna do the CIP to 1 and then the other way.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Okay, so you could really do the CIP in the first year and then basically take the rest of the savings and divide it by 2 and do it over the other 2 years.
Exactly, that's
That's
what
what
that
you've
top
done.
chart, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking.
Great, that's what I wanted to know. And then, obviously, if somebody said, I don't want the flat rate anymore, I'll take the meter, they could always do that. They don't have to even mess with this whole ordeal. They can say, I'll install a meter and I wanna be treated like everybody else.
100%, the second we put the meter in the system, they'll get billed just like everybody else.
Okay, so there's no requirement that everybody does it one way.
No, there's not. It obviously would be preferred for operations, but I don't think it's necessary. We've been operating like this for 13 years now. So I think the fact that the city is what dropped the ball on this, I think it's a good PR move to give people the option, so they can
Okay.
choose either way.
Okay. Jude, do you have any questions on it?
I wouldn't even know where to begin.
So
Well,
I felt when I found it.
Well, and so I'm gonna just say, I believe, and I'll even make a motion to this, I think that the 3-year flat rate at 5,000 gallons is my preference, what I would like, and offering the installation of a meter as, you can do one or the other. And obviously, the installation of the meter would have to happen by, are we gonna put a time frame on that?
So I'd like to put a time frame on that. My fear is the supply chain. The difficulty getting meters.
Well, we
would
could
be
say,
the catch. So
we
it'd
could
have to
say
be
by the first of the year, or when the meter is available.
Something like that, yeah. And I think that, by the time we get through all of this and actually get the ordinance through its 3 readings to create this pay adjustment, this rate adjustment, it'll be really close to the end of the year anyway, so maybe looking at March 1st, give them a quarter to try and get a plumber.
And
that
actually,
kind of stuff.
you could even say that we're gonna put you under this flat rate, 5,000 gallon, 3-year adjustment, and you're gonna go through that process until such time as you have a meter in place.
We could do that, we could do that. I think some of the thing we talked about at the last meeting, was to accommodate the fact that they'll have to pay $500 for the meter and the radio read unit, and most people have to hire a plumber to cut in the gap. We were gonna let them stay where they are now until the meter got installed, and then jump all at once. So it is, operationally, that's 3 things. You've got 3 things you're dealing with there. You would have, some people metered, some people on flat rate. The people that are gonna be metered would stay the same until the meter went in, and then they'd jump. It does get a little confusing.
Yeah, I just think that's a recipe for someone to, you know,
Yeah.
wait until,
It-
as long as possible to stay on the rate that they have now.
It's also very likely that with 3 different options, that we make a mistake on one of the 3 options and then
Right.
cause trouble. So I do like that idea of if you're gonna go to the meter, until the meter comes in, everybody goes to the adjusted
Yeah.
flat rate. If you wanna go to the meter, when it comes in, you're not 5,000 anymore, you're everybody, just like everybody
You
else.
can do whatever you want.
Yeah, yeah. I
Which you
think-
can do today if you want, you can do it 3 years from now if you want.
Agree, yeah, absolutely. Anytime before 2025 would jump you up
Right.
to where it's at.
Okay.
I think that's a really good option.
So I'm gonna make a motion for you that, at least the utility committee would suggest that a 3-year flat rate, adjustment be implemented, as well as the option to install a meter be implemented, for the customers that are currently experiencing this, anomaly.
I'll second that.
Walter?
Yes,
Hampshire?
Yes.
all right. Good with that, Chris?
Well, so the only thing we have left to do is I wanted to talk a little bit about when we wanted to have the public meeting, because I want to get the notice out there to these people quickly. I didn't know if, and me and Mr. Hicken talked a little bit about this today, if we wanted to have a special council meeting just for this, or if we wanted to have a utility committee meeting for this. Obviously, the benefit of a special council meeting being everybody's already informed. It doesn't really matter to me either way, but I was thinking somewhere in the middle of September would be a good time to have them come in, explain to them what's gonna happen, hear their concerns. That would give us time to have a follow-up meeting and enact an ordinance before the end of the year so that we can start this process in January. So if we wanted to do it as a utility committee, September 12th, seems like it was in between 2 council meetings, or a special council meeting, either way, if September 12th is open,
Ah,
I think that seems like a good time slot to try and squeeze it in. Also gives me a chance to send people 2 letters to let them know when it's gonna happen.
I'm gonna say that a special meeting would probably be my preference over a utility committee meeting, only because then all council can field questions or hear concerns.
Absolutely. It'll expedite the whole.
And it'll
process.
expedite, and if there's some big issue that we all need to know about, we can all hear it at the same time.
Yeah, agreed.
Or if people are just mad that they are not gonna get the benefit of, you know, $600 savings, i.e. $400 savings at this point if we go to 5,000, we can explain that to them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
And I can have, I could probably have this stuff in a PowerPoint and have it up on the monitors just to try and help us present the information, the numbers to the people that come in.
the only thing we have going on, and not that this should affect it, but the health reach case is on the 12th when we go to court.
Okay. So if we did one in the
shouldn't affect it.
If we did in the evening, we
Yeah,
should be.
I think
should be
it'd be an evening meeting, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Maybe a
so-
7 o'clock meeting, there's no Tim, that's up to you guys,
Yep.
but do you agree, Tim, that it would be, potentially expediting and beneficial to have a special meeting versus utility committee?
I do. I was, that's probably where I was landing. It's because, Chris and I talk through this stuff all the time, and we check each other, and we question, and we kind of mold it back and forth. So I don't, I think the logic for letting everybody hear it at the same time is good logic.
Okay, and that gives you enough time to get your
It does,
notices out?
I can get 2 letters out to everybody at that point, and on the back end, it gives us enough time to adjust concerns and get the ordinance through before the end of the year.
So we're looking at the 12th.
That would be the intent, if that's where we end up with it.
We do have public hearings on the 6th and the, let's see, it'll be the 19th, for 2 rezonings
On the 2
prior to
meetings.
council meetings on those 2.
Well, I think that makes even more sense to have this as a special meeting.
I agree.
Yep, I agree. Okay.
And I think the mayor can call it.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, who do you need to call? Cause it's either, isn't it 2 council members
Two
or,
council persons or the mayor.
or the mayor? So, Mike, you wanna send it, or do you want the utility
Nope.
committee to do it?
Give me the info.
Okay. Chris, will you help us give Mike?
Text.
the-
Yes, sir.
Text it to me. I'll get with Kathy. We'll set her up.
Perfect. That works.
Okay, next.
Okay, the next thing that we're gonna talk about there is, in your packet is a copy of the resolution that's on tonight's agenda. So as we discussed, the wastewater plant is reaching capacity. We expect significant development to come in through natural causes and the Intel project. So we need to expand our wastewater plant to allow that to happen. The first process of that is to expand your permit, and we reached out to the EPA and asked them if we could avoid some of the studies that they require when you try to expand your permit, like alternative treatment processes and things like that, because we already know what we're gonna do. We're just gonna duplicate what we have and make more of it. And they said no. They pointed to the rule book where the alternative studies have to happen. So what I was hoping to do is run this kind of study through my general engineering retainer, but it's gonna be too much, it's gonna be too involved for that. So Verdantis has given us a price of not to exceed $35,000 to do all the studies that the EPA requires. And that is that resolution that'll be on council's agenda tonight. We did not go out for a separate
RFQ.
so we used the citywide one because it is under $50,000 for the total. So we took the packets that they submitted in January and selected Verdantis to do this. So that's where that all comes about. So this really doesn't increase our permit any, it just checks all the boxes that the EPA is gonna require us to do before they'll evaluate whether or not we can increase our permit.
Only question I have on this, and I'm fine with it going through, have we looked to see if there are any grants available to pay for this type of work? And the reason why I say that is because if we had no development in the area, we wouldn't need to expand, correct?
That is true.
So with that, are there any Jobs Ohio, any type of grants that are available? And again, I bring this up because I've recently found out that Buckeye Lake, for instance, got almost a $60,000 grant to do a comprehensive plan. So
Okay.
their $80,000 comprehensive plan is only gonna cost them 20. And it's not to say they couldn't afford it, just that they made the claim that but for development that is occurring due to expansion in the east side and the northeast side of, or the area of Licking County, they had to do this.
Right.
So would that not, just ask the
It's
question. if we
definitely
could-
worth looking into. I don't know the answer to that question. The only hiccup that I can see happening is I'm gonna ask for $20 million worth of grants, which I'm not gonna get, to try and expand the wastewater plant. And, so if there is a pool, if it would hurt me asking for a small amount for this kind of thing, I would rather wait and ask for the bigger numbers. But I don't know the answer to that question. I have not researched that.
I was thinking about if we could go to like a Jobs Ohio or somebody who's bringing this development here as somebody that could help
I'm with you.
with 35,000, which is a drop in their budget,
Gotcha.
drop in their bucket of their budget.
We're not talking state revolving, but I got you.
Right, exactly.
I got you.
That's
I got you.
exactly right. Okay, great.
Development based. I will definitely look into that, sir.
And there may, hey, it's a chance. It's worth trying.
If we can save 10, I'll take 3,000, whatever. If we can save something, we'll save it. So,
Right,
yeah, absolutely.
right. Okay,
Excellent.
sounds good. And I don't think that affects anything that is being read this evening, so in my opinion, I don't have a problem with moving forward with Verdanus doing the work as long as, if we at least evaluate that possibility.
Agreed, yep, I would definitely look into that possibility.
And maybe our development director can help us with that.
That's not a bad idea.
Okay, great. Alrighty. Any questions, Jude, on that? Any, okay, very good. Next.
Next thing is a couple project updates. Jefferson Street project, all the water lines are done. The paving, the rain has slowed things down quite a bit. But what they did do was the parking lot to the old town hall and Depot Street and a small section of Jefferson that goes towards the train tracks between the bank parking lot and the coffee shop parking lot. They got all that done. There is a small spot that is holding water. There's a little bit of a ridge before a storm grate, so they're gonna come back and fix that when they do the rest of Jefferson Street, hopefully tomorrow. So that's moving along well. The only things that are left is to finish the paving on Jefferson, the ADA ramps on the sidewalks, a couple of those still need done, grass restorations, parking lot striping, and then a final walkthrough. So that project is really wrapping up quick, which is nice.
Did you find any excessive overruns or anything that caused problems for your budget?
So I found, caused problems, no, but it came about that close to it.
Well, as long as it didn't go over.
Everything in Old Town is always a mystery. We did have to use some contingency money that's above what we told OPWC, so they're fixed. They're not coming above their number. We'll actually end up paying more than the 49.5 that we planned. But the contingency amount that was included should cover everything that we've run into on this project. It will not leave much left over, but it looks like we're gonna rub two nickels together and get the project done under budget.
Fantastic.
Agreed.
Okay.
So that's pretty much it for Jefferson Street. Just wanted to give a quick update on where it's at.
And an update on the 2-inch water line project.
So the 2-inch water line project, I guess not to be outdone as an Old Town project, the very first scoop we took out hit an unmarked gas line. Maybe 7 scoops later, we found 5 houses that are tied onto 1 3/4-inch tap that is fed by a 2-inch main that goes, it's a dead-end 2-inch main. So how these people have all had water without coordinating laundry days with each other since 1935, I have no idea. It's all gonna get fixed as part of the project, but it is gonna be a little bit of a change order to find what we did. We also found 2 existing leaks on the main that's about to be abandoned, but it was early in the project, so we had to repair those leaks, just so we can abandon the main in a couple months. So it's frustrating, it's an Old Town project, but just like the Jefferson Street one, it'll definitely be worth the headaches when we get through it.
Do you think that you are going to be extraordinarily above budget? Or do you think you're gonna fall within budget plus some contingencies? What do you think?
I think with this one, we'll be, with the contingency money, that we should be under budget on this project. This project actually had a little bit more of a buffer planned into it than the Jefferson Street project because it does not include an entire roadway resurfacing. So I think we'll be okay with this project in the end.
Okay,
Now that I said that, I guarantee you we won't be.
well, I didn't ask you to give me a 100% guarantee.
That's true, that's true.
50-50 guess is good enough.
50-50, I can do that, so.
Okay. No, I understand those things, Chris, that those, stuff happens, especially when you are dealing with, very outdated service lines.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me ask one more quick question on both Jefferson Street and the 2-inch water line. Have you had any issues that, residents or, businesses have had problems with communication, without knowledge, without notice? All of a sudden, they're surprised by the contractor, he's working in their front yard and they had no idea?
So we have not. The only issues that were surprises were also surprises to us. We talked a little bit about that. The houses on Township that are fed all the way from Jefferson, where their service line jumps over a closer water main to get, we didn't know they were fed that way and they didn't either. But I gotta say that the residents were all extremely understanding, very nice about it, and we really had no complaints at all from citizens for the project.
And then speaking of your surprises, do you anticipate any kind of pressure issues? For instance, maybe the 5 people on the 3/4-inch line were experiencing 25 pounds of pressure and now PSI, and now they're gonna see 60.
So I don't think it'll be a pressure problem initially. What they'll see is a sustained pressure. So the pressure in the system, when the valves are all turned off, everything fills up to whatever it is in the area. That area is probably about 45. But when they turn the water on, because we can't sustain that through 1 3/4 inch tap, the pressure drops off. What they'll see now is still, it won't go any more than the 45 everybody else gets because it's gravity that causes the pressure, but it'll stay at 45. There will be no drop off regardless of how many sinks they have running or their neighbors or anything else.
Okay.
So I don't think it'll cause damage. I think it'll actually be it'll be a good thing.
Very good. Okay, wonderful. All right. Jude, any questions on that? Okay. The service territory swap update.
So
This sounds dangerous.
The interconnect got constructed last week. It's installed. So what you'll see next in your packet is a letter that we sent out to all, I think it's 161 customers that are getting swapped over. So we sent them all a letter explaining what's going on. This is about the third letter they got. But this one actually has a time frame for what Southwest Licking is wanting to do. So these customers should start hearing from Southwest Licking August 1st to schedule a time with them to change the meter equipment out. And then the hope is that by November 1st, enough of those meters will be swapped out that it'll make sense to go ahead and go through with the swap. There will be some carryover, and we talked about this when we originally came up with this plan, where CJ's guys are gonna read that area for water meter reading, and we're gonna read that area. There'll be some overlap, where we both read, because some of the meters will be Southwest Licking, some of the meters will be ours, share the readings with whoever is doing the billing, and transition through that way. The big hiccup that I think people are gonna see is there will be a month where our billing is 2 months in the rear, Southwest Licking's is 1 month in the rear. So there will be a month where they're paying us for water they used 2 months ago, and Southwest Licking for water they used 1 month ago. Now, some people will have no problem and will pay that. Some people will say it's too much of a hit, and we'll be more than happy to give them a 12-month payment plan to try and stretch that double month out as long as they need to, just like we do for every bill. But that is a hiccup that's gonna come. The flip side to that is most of these people are being charged out-of-town rates for Pataskala, which is higher than Southwest Licking's normal rate. So most of them will see a reduction in their water bills, but there is that 1 month that they're gonna have a bill from both people, and it's gonna cause confusion. So we're trying to get that message out there as quickly as we can to them. But that's kind of the time frame for the whole thing. So we're looking at November, if everything goes smoothly, actually making the transition, they would become Southwest Licking customers. But right now, the plumbing is in. It's a simple turning of the valves to make it happen. The 2 billing departments, Josephine and Danielle, are working great together. They have a plan for this whole transition. So we feel like we're in a pretty good spot for what is bound to be a headache for a couple months when this actually happens.
So I noticed that you have the acting general manager and yourself as the contacts.
Yes.
Do you think that these people want to talk to you and the acting general manager? Or do you think they want to talk to the billing lady?
I think they want to talk to me to complain about the process. And then when the details of the actual billing comes through, they'll want to talk to the billing department. So the billing department is the number in the last paragraph. I'll
Yes.
take them there. At the bottom, I made sure to include both myself and CJ to get the high-level questions of why is this happening? Will my water be bad now? And those kind of things. I think we're gonna get more of those initially than we will actual billing questions. Until the swap happens, then both billing offices are gonna be blown up with confusing questions, I think.
Okay. Do we want to give them names at the billing offices?
No.
Okay. Very good. No problem. I
I'd like
just
to
wanted-
protect them as much as I can, just
Okay,
to go through the
you-
normal channels.
I can live with that. All right. So do you have any questions on this fun? We knew it was coming.
Yeah.
It's like a bad tooth. You know you have to get it
You
pulled.
know it's coming out. Like we do with everything, we're trying to get as much information out as we can ahead of time to minimize it, but it's gonna happen, so.
Well, it's been a long time coming too, right?
Yep.
That's very true.
Certainly the 3 of us worked
Very
on
true.
this,
Yes, yeah, you were sitting down there when we did this.
I was indeed.
Yes.
All right. Okay, next item is the sewer lining project update.
So this is just a reminder, so we have a bid opening tomorrow for that sewer lining project that we're doing to address the I&I water that we're getting our sewer lines, which is a requirement of our new discharge permit. So This is the project that we're throwing in $250,000, OPWC's thrown in $250,000, and HB 168, which was headed up by Mr. Frazier, is also throwing in $250,000. So with that $750,000, we can get the entire River Forest neighborhood done, which was one of the worst leakers, and also a closed circuit that goes into a lift station. So a great way to analyze how effective this actually is. And then that's gonna be about $500,000 for that. The rest of the money, we will go to the Oak Meadow section, the Oak Meadow Drive section, which is our other terrible leaky section, and have enough to probably do all of Pat Haven Drive, at the front, the front half of Pat Haven Drive, and the line that goes between the car wash and the banks, right where Oxby's used to sit. There's a sewer line there. So we'll get that section done. Hopefully we can do all that this year, and then the plan in future budgets is to try and do a $500,000 project the next 2 years as well, and see where that gets us as far as our I&I goes. But no real action needed, just want to tell you bid openings coming tomorrow.
So I know that we talked about this and how we were gonna evaluate how this affects our capacities.
Yeah.
So do you think that it is imperative to know this information after we do this, and you said River Haven?
River Forest.
River Forest, I'm sorry, River Forest and part of Oak Meadows. Let's say that the I&I in that is, I don't know, a couple, 10, 15,000 gallons, 20,000 gallons, whatever, 100,000 gallons, whatever it might be.
Right.
Could be a big number. Is it worth knowing that before we start the evaluation for the expansion? If this does end up being some very large, turns out to be very profitable as far as capacity goes.
Yeah. So I don't think it's critical for that because of the fact that we are at capacity with the developments that we already know are coming. So even if we save, the amount of I&I that we're gonna save out of this, I believe will not be enough to accommodate all of Fandandigal plus Harriman Manor 5, Scenic View Estates, and maybe a couple other properties that are thinking about developing. I think we're gonna need the expansion regardless, and that does nothing for the Headley Mills corridor, anything coming down Columbia, anything coming from that direction from Intel. So I think it's critical, and the EPA has agreed to, if I can show how much I&I I'm removing, they will add that to the PTI
Yeah,
capacity.
right.
But I don't think it's necessary to wait for this before we start the anti-DEG process.
Gotcha. Okay, good enough. Any questions, Jude, on the extremely exciting line project?
Watching the sewer videos in preparation for this is just amazing.
I bet it is.
It's just amazing.
It's like, how in the world does that work?
There are a couple of those and then a lot of
Yes,
nodding off
indeed.
as I'm looking at the same pipe.
Okay, so the annual report.
So these reports are not required by the EPA. There's a utility report and then a water reclamation facility specific report. The reports we put out every year, they are posted on the website, and I try to get them out at the end of the first quarter, and I'm just behind. I'm just dealing with projects and just got behind. So they're just now coming out, but they cover what we have done the year previously. And there's just a lot of good little nuggets of information in here. There's things like how many dig jobs we did, how much money came through, how many people came into the office to visit us. And then there's CIP projects that we've done, and then the big numbers of how much water we treated out of each plant, how much water we lose to unmetered water, leaks in the system. All of that kind of stuff is just covered in the report. The utility report has a little bit about the WRF in it, but the actual WRF report, page 3, breaks down the nutrients that we removed by month. And you can see in this report when we went from the lagoon system back to the treatment plant system, because you can see the removal percentages go way up again once we're not using the lagoon. So it's just a bunch of, for water nerds, it's a bunch of great information. We put it out there every year. It's like I said, it's on the website, and just wanted to make sure that the utility committee all had a hard copy in their hands, and I printed off hard copies for everybody on council. They'll get it tonight as well.
Excellent. Can I make another suggestion that the 310 service swap also be copied and given to council, if that's at all possible to run that out before council?
Yes,
I
the
think it might
letter,
make
yes,
sense
sir.
to have that also, just so that everyone has that.
Can easily do that.
Yep, it's a fantastic reading. So, okay, perfect. So you got both of those reports. Excellent.
Yes, yes.
And I'm just gonna say, so when we run reports, when you say it's the first quarter, this is last year's results.
It's the whole year. I like to get them done by the first quarter, and I'm just behind this year. That's why it's not coming out till July. Usually I try and get them out in March sometime. But yeah, it covers everything we did the year previously.
Okay. Okay. Alrighty, anything on that, Jude? Any suggestions on that? Okay. The last and best category, other?
I have nothing, Mr. Walter.
Can we talk, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about strontium.
We can't talk about strontium.
I hope so.
Actually, I do have a little bit of
I
another.
hope you
have
do.
to bring that
Come
subject
on.
up. So, I've heard absolutely nothing about the assessment on our permit renewal, which is going through the renewal process. And like I said, I don't think they're gonna do anything until the permit gets renewed, which is, I believe in November of this year is when the renewal will happen. But we have so at your suggestion, we jetted the line going to that brine waste tank, and we found some mineral deposits built up in there. And then our strontium levels were fine for a while, then they spiked back up, and now they're fine again. We had a check valve on the discharge side of that tank fail, and so we ran a camera through there. It's a plastic line, and the amount of deposits, I've never seen plastic line have this much deposits on it before in my life. So they're coming this week to jet that line. Whether that solves the problem or not, I don't know, but it will be an annual line that gets jetted out. It's been
At least
16
you
years.
maybe can control the outflow.
And
the output.
absolutely. If
That's what
nothing
you're
else.
looking for right now, is can we control it?
Exactly. And when you get the camera in there, you can see the water is so saturated, obviously, because brine waste coming out of the softeners, but it is cloudy. I mean, there is a lot in suspension in that water. And so it makes sense when it sits there that it'll settle out and start to form on the side of the wall. And it's possible that the same thing we thought was happening leaving the plant to the tank is now happening leaving the tank to the sample point.
Sure.
So we did find that. That'll be fixed by the end of this week. And then, like I said, we're still waiting for the permit renewal with the hopes that they will either increase our limit based on that Valero study or remove it altogether.
Or if we find that we can control it and keep it at a level that is below the stated limit throughout the period of time, that may help also.
Absolutely. And if we can control it by cleaning this line out and making sure it doesn't build up again, this is our normal process. We're not doing anything extra with that.
Good,
So it would
good.
stay that way regardless of what EPA does.
Perfect. Awesome. I'm so glad I asked. All right.
Nothing better than talking about strong.
Strontium is my favorite. Okay. Jude, anything anything in the other category that you would like to bring up?
No.
And nothing other than that, would you have
Nothing
to talk
other
about?
than that other do I have for the other category.
All right, I would, then need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Walter?
yes,
Hampshire?
Yes.
thank you, Chris, we're
Thank you.
adjourned.
Appreciate it.